Well, welcome everybody. My name is Kathy Sexton. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We have a great turnout today and probably expect a few more people to come on in as they are able to. We have a wonderful program for you today with economic development and your municipal airport. This is 101. We'll tell you about 102 and cover the basics today. Thank you to several of you who responded to the email with the request for what are you looking for? What do you want to know about? And our speaker today is Tim Rogers, and he has worked into his presentation the questions several of you asked and some of those case studies, so to speak. So if you didn't notice, it is being recorded. We're hoping to, if all the technology goes well, we're hoping to send you all a follow-up with a video and PowerPoint. So in case you can't read the notes on the slides, or if you can't take your own notes quick enough, be aware that you will get a follow-up email. We're sending the video. It will take a few days, and with the holidays too, don't expect it till next week, but we will follow up with you with that. Any questions or anything before we get started? Go ahead and open your chat if you would, so that feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll field those as we go and do as much as we can in our 1 hour time. So thank you all for joining. We have a great representation of cities all around the state of Kansas. So with no further ado, Tim, I think you've been introduced to everyone. Everyone knows that you have a great experience and history at the Salina Airport and are now doing your consulting work. So we really appreciate your time today.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining today. I look at the list of attendees today. I'm very impressed. Many of you that are on the call probably know more about economic development than I hope to continue to learn about. So we looking forward to your comments and suggestions. I'll share with you some of my experiences over the years. And there's really, Kathy is going to keep us on track, because sometimes I can just take too much time. This is a fun topic and fun topic to talk about. So Kathy, can everybody see my screen, I hope? Okay, here we go. So starting this out, combination, again, there's on the list, there's those that may have a lot of experience with airports and economic development related to your local or regional airport. But we'll do an overview here of what to expect today. We'll talk about the current impact of Kansas airports here in the state of Kansas. There's about over 130 public use airports in the state. The types of economic impact activity and the numbers are amazing as measured by the Kansas Department of Transportation. One thing I think will find interesting, I do every day, opportunities and trends. What is Kansas looking at? What can local communities look at to leverage their local airport or the regional airport? Airport economic development strategic planning. Question would be, is your airport or your regional airport or the airport you identify with, included in your local economic development strategic plan? And some case studies and questions that we'll go through. And thank you for submitting those questions beforehand. So I stated 130 public use airports over. The output and the jobs and the payroll, these numbers are staggering. This study was done and completed in 2022. I believe the numbers are, like most economic development statements or impact statements, are conservative. And there are certainly gaps at airports but this is based on the data that was received. This effort by the Division of Aviation gets better and better over the years. But Kansas is the air capital of the world for a reason, and we have jobs and activity all across the state that really contributes to the well-being of our state economy and our local economies. This information you can find at KDOT, the Division of Aviation. There is actually a map, an interactive map that you can drill down to your local airport. You can see what your local airport's numbers that are part of this, if you would ever want to do so. I talk about indirect and direct economic impacts for airports, and I think we all probably have a understanding that airports, regional airports, they really do support local and area businesses, and it's because of the access to the nation's air transportation system. Aviation allows people and cargo to travel vast distances, across the state, the nation, and globally. And that's every airport, no matter how small or how large, has those connections, enables people and cargo and commerce to flow. The airports in the United States or aviation systems, the only high-speed mass transit system we have. And it is the safest system in the world. So I'll have a couple of quotes that I'll share with you today, and this is an anonymous airport quote. It's used a lot by airport managers when we're promoting with local units of government, when we're looking for airport improvements, and but it's been used across the industry. But a mile of road will take you a mile of runway will take you anywhere, and that is truly the case. There's some studies that have been done, and some other mapping done by the Kansas Department of Transportation Division of Aviation that shows the number of flights in and out of our Kansas airports. It's an interesting map. It actually shows the flow of aircraft in and out from out of state. And it's when you pick one of these airports, you think it's a small airport, you see aircraft coming into that airport from all across the nation. That'd be general aviation, and for the various reasons why they want access to that area of our state or that community, aviation is big. Direct economic impacts. This is a sampling, and I'm going to pause after this one. I want to ask you if there's anything else that you would like to add to this list as far as direct economic impacts. But fixed base operations, this is where the fuel is sold, services to pilots, maintenance, repair, and overhaul. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in more depth here later on. Hangar rental, aircraft need to be stored, and there's opportunities for building revenue, but it also attracts aviation to your airport or local airport. Flight schools, there's still a pilot shortage. It's not as acute as it was post-COVID, but the industry will always need pilots. Ag aviation is big in this state, and can continue to grow. Rental cars is a revenue source for airports. Special events, I do stress to airport operators, you have a resource to attract special events. It could be fly-ins, the Experimental Aircraft Association, flying farmers, flying dentists. And that brings visitors into your community, into your region. Charter flights, going to add a little bit to that later on here, but there are more opportunities with public charter, that scheduled public charter, that a community can look at to have enhance their access to air service, to regional jet service. Scheduled air service, we have 6, 7 commercial service airports in the state, but key to those regions of the state is that scheduled air service for those regions. Military training, you may not think that a small airport or even a large airport can support military training, but they can. There's a growing need. Kansas has a great asset, and that's airspace, and great friendly state and communities. Aerospace supply chain business, there's more happening along supply chain work in addition to the traditional, large aircraft, large air carrier aircraft. This new, and we're going to touch on e-aviation, electronic aviation, the electric aircraft. And there's also DoD opportunities that I'll touch on a bit later. I threw in air equipment storage because at the Salina Regional Airport, Salina Airport Industrial Center, we found we had space available that was, non-aeronautical. It was open space, and we found we could market that just to store. One crane operator came in and just stored the crane equipment, and it's a land lease, and it just generates money very easily. I'm going to stop there and just ask the group, are there any other direct economic impacts that you're aware of that you'd like to share with the group?
Scott put in the chat, Tim, that air ambulance provider might be something to add to that group. I think you might have said dentist too.
Flying dentists, actually, there is such a group as flying dentists. They like flying to locations and to meet and have for their continuing education. Then, but they like to go do things. Yeah, go to a festival, go to an attraction, things like that. So opportunities and trends. Some of the work I've been doing lately, and one collaboration with another individual that I've really been enthused about, is learning more about advanced air mobility, e-aviation, electric aviation, electric powered aircraft, of course, uncrewed UAS systems. I'll take that group there. You see in this slide, this photo right there, that is the Textron Nexus e-aviation advanced air mobility aircraft that they are building now. The prototype is being built down in Wichita. The initial flight test will take place, tethered flight test will take place at NIAR in Wichita. And the flight test program for certification will be conducted at the Salina Regional Airport. This is an 8,000-pound aircraft. This is not a small. And this will be initially crewed, but it can become autonomous in the future. I like Textron's chances. There's some other competitors in this space. They're trying to raise money, and they have to do another round of fundraising to survive. Textron is strong enough and large enough and established enough. I think they can bring this aircraft to the market. And of course, once they bring it to the market, it's got a worldwide support system. So I'm excited about Kansas's position here with this aircraft and Textron's growth. But this also goes into the area of uncrewed aircraft and the opportunities for vertical takeoff and landing, aircraft that are vertical takeoff and landing. For every this opens up an opportunity for air charter work and operations at a smaller airport without a need with a long runway. You just need a vertiport. And that new design is out there by the FAA, how to design a vertiport to land and take off. They will be used in the metropolitan areas. Airlines are signing up to provide this as air taxi work in the New York area, Los Angeles area, and doing partnerships there. But this type of mobility, advanced air mobility, will open up real markets. I think we are not aware of it yet, and it's truly emerging. Any questions about these opportunities that are coming up for all Kansas airports? MRO operators, I'll touch on as far as a broader strategy across the state, but I think every airport has an opportunity. There's some infrastructure that's needed, but whether it's a small one-person aircraft maintenance shop, or whether it's a larger operation, there's still opportunities out there. This ties into this new emerging industry, emerging trend of advanced air mobility, uncrewed UAS systems, e-aviation. There will be more maintenance needed for that type of aircraft, more emphasis in electrical systems. The engines are electrical engines. We're not using gas, avgas or Jet A in these aircraft. But the future shops coming up will be maintaining these aircraft. And again, it doesn't take a long runway or a big facility to maintain some of the smaller unmanned and e-aviation, your advanced air mobility. DoD contractors, the state of Kansas, through the Kansas Governor's Military Council, which I have an honor and privilege to still serve on, is really working to bring in more DoD business into the state. And No airport, no community is too small or too large to support DoD contractors. And there is an effort to recruit that business into our state and to find locations where a DoD contractor, it's a good fit and bring that activity, those jobs and that payroll into our state. Private aviation charters, JSX and things like that. This opens up opportunities for air service for communities that may just be able to work with somebody. And some of these operators are as small as single engine turboprop, but basically they're selling by the seat a charter aircraft. And there are more opportunities that are opening up there that will begin to help our all of our airports, all of our communities, more opportunities for air service. In aerospace supply chain. Again, we have emerging technologies, emerging systems, and advanced air mobility, e-aviation, UAS that will need supply chain. This ties back to the DoD activity too. Some of the new uncrewed systems coming out, they will not necessarily be supported by some of the traditional legacy type of supply chain providers, and it will maybe there's opportunities coming along there.
Tim, I might ask you one question on this one, probably on behalf of some of the city administrators, city managers. When you say DoD contractors, for me, I kind of go, what? So the Department of Defense is a pretty big deal. What would a city need to do? I mean, where would you start?
It's with the companies themselves, and it's coordinating with the efforts by the state also in this area to connect with those contractors and those opportunities coming up. The state of Kansas has a dedicated consultant in Washington, D.C., and that is looking for those opportunities. So I think we'll touch here too on the importance of working with the Kansas Department of Commerce. But I think as we at the end, we're going to talk about kind of next steps, and one would be what are your capabilities? Do an assessment and maybe updated economic development strategic plans, and letting your partners, economic development partners, know about capabilities and your interests in this area. And this is not large DoD contractors. We're not talking about Lockheed or Boeing. We're talking about the small new companies that are coming out. Some of these new DoD contractors and supply chain are going to be doing work 3D printing of aircraft parts, especially drones. When I didn't get in this today, but collaborative combat aircraft, CCA, there's new developments there. That'll be almost a whole new supply chain that'll be established to support these new collaborative combat aircraft. That's another topic we could spend the entire rest of the morning on. So start talking about why the airport's included in an economic development strategic plan. I think these are the three items that I really saw that were important, and be interested in the group if you see anything else, if you would like to add anything, any other questions. But again, it's national global travel. I mean, it's scheduled air service, it's business aviation, private aviation charter, personal aircraft. I see over the years a growth, strong growth of business owners wanting to own their own airplanes and fly their own airplanes. Now, with the advent of single engine turboprop cabin class aircraft, the Beach Denali, for example, it's just opening up the world, the Pilatus, and both for charter aviation and business aviation. Charter operators around the country can fly anywhere to any airport. They also need certain infrastructure, so it'd be assessing the airport's capabilities to accommodate, citation jets and business aviation and what the airport has. And Scott Wagner, for example, knows exactly what it takes to support business aviation at the Lawrence Regional Airport. I really do believe that I think we all agree here on this call that business retention and recruitment is really the airport plays a role. it plays in your manufacturing sector, your professional services, your medical care, your ag business, whether that be ag flying or a seed company coming in to do business with the area producers, things like that. I mean, these that connection is really interested, really important. But I don't. Probably every economic development prospect or anybody looking at expansion probably has on their list, transportation, labor, available buildings, available sites. And so I think taking time to look at the aspects of the local airport, the regional airport, and it's maybe multiple communities partnering with the larger airport and their region, and how that they fit, and making sure that there's that collaboration and partnership. I really want to stress today also visitors and tourism. I think in the fall, we'll see here at the Salina Regional Airport, flights coming in, and many of the other airports, rural airports see this too, the hunters coming in. And I mean, that is, and those are dollars coming into the state. Those are dollars coming into the community. But it's sports. I mean, I'm surprised now that youth sports has grown so large that there are families and coaches flying in and out for some of these, especially the larger events in larger communities that hold. I mean, the soccer activity at there at Wichita next to Jabara, I know that there's coaches and teams folks flying in onto the soccer fields there, and the Shields facility there. Hunting and fishing, Kansas attractions. I mean, who wouldn't want to fly in and have a great day at one of our at our attractions? And so I think that's something to build into a strategic plan. And just pause here for any questions.
Tim, I like what you said, and it didn't really strike me. I mean, it just struck me as something I hadn't thought about before when you mentioned the point about they may have a business reason to come in, whether it's a surgeon or whatever, military, whatever. But when they're there, they also want to eat something, do something, see something. So it's not a attraction or visitor tourism separate from business. It's like you have to coordinate the two.
There's another part of that, and hopefully not tell too many stories here this morning so we can get finished on time. But we have seen over the years somebody fly in with their personal airplane, and they fly in just to refuel, and maybe they spend some time in the community, but I'm no longer surprised when the call comes and saying, "Hey, I dropped by your community, flew in, and I'd like to know more." Or somebody says, "Our boss flew in, we'd like to know more." So it's like everybody who uses our airports are a gateway to our communities. I didn't put that term on here, but how do you include your airport as one of your gateways? Just as important as driving in off of the highway. That's something to think about. So a little bit about airport strategic planning. Again, we could spend the whole morning here, but if the group has an interest, we'll probably build on this for our meeting session in June, those that would like to attend that. And I've got some ideas I'll talk to Kathy about. How do we help with taking an airport and building that strategic plan, economic development plan, and incorporate that into the communities and your stakeholders already, your plan. Just want to make a distinction that this is not an airport master plan. An airport master plan is for infrastructure. It really doesn't include how do you market your airport, how do you attract business retention, how do you support business and industry within your region. But it becomes a component of your local Eco-Devo plan. In Salina, over the years, we've really stressed partnerships and collaboration. I see that across the state too, that that's always so important. And I see the folks on this call that I think you all understand that. And it's how you really work together and enhance partnerships, syncing your plan with other plans. And I think it's important here to think right now that we sync with the Kansas Department of Commerce and the activity that's going on there. I think that's it's a great partner, and along with KDOT and other agencies. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that we have, right now, it's still a very viable and great product and blueprint, the Kansas Framework for Growth. And aerospace is a sector that's been identified in the Framework for Growth. So I think we see there that there's a state policy. I think this applies to just not MRO opportunities, but identify our competitive advantages to capture growth. In this case, it was MRO opportunities. I think we also identify capabilities to address other sectors such as UAS, advanced air mobility, supply chain. And supply chain can be on the airport, can be off the airport. So I think we're just there's a lot of opportunities there. And I think this is where we get into the promoting contracting opportunities and federal spending in the state. That gets back to the Department of Defense and various branches of the military that have options to go locations and utilize space at our airports. I'm going to pause there and see questions or discussion, Kathy, that we may have, and then see before we get to these case studies and discussion on some of the specific questions.
Yeah, if anyone has anything to add, please do. But I have to say that I'm glad Daniela in Newton mentioned in the chat that certainly in Newton, they experience the need that businesses are using the airport, but then when they come into town, then they go play golf. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. I think that happens at a lot of courses around and places around the state because, you're sitting for a while and you want to get out and enjoy the weather and do something active. And so that is a good connection there too. Did anyone have any other comments? I'm really looking forward to these case studies. I love this part of the program coming up.
Well, anybody who wants to raise a question, don't hesitate. I can't be addressing all of your questions or concerns right now, but don't hesitate to. And I may call on the submitter of the question here to help us out and talk through this. And I'm going to probably then ask the group, do you have any thoughts, any comments that? And Scott, I'm going to start with you if you're on the line here. I think you are. And Scott submitted a question related to new hangar construction, having a prime airfield site, competing tenants. Do we need an RFP? And I put down questions that came to mind here: how to best structure the lease agreement and how to best assess the market for the available sites. And Scott, can I ask you maybe am I understanding your question and how can we help?
Thanks, Tim. Yes, I think you are understanding the question. We've really got some what I might call beachfront property that's right off of our primary runway in Lawrence that's pretty amenable to more airfield and hangar construction. But we've got more than one company over the last year that's been interested in developing this site. So that's kind of the basis of my question. How do we go forward from here?
So how many sites do you have? How many, if you're in an approximate acreage that you have per site?
Well, Tim, I would say this particular site, right off of our primary runway is kind of the only site that would make it pretty easy for large box hangar development or another FBO operator to come and operate. And it's probably 20 acres in size
Ooh.
total.
That is a prime site. 20 acres, you've got room to actually, you've got a great opportunity there. So have you developed a concept plan for the site yet? How many hangars you want, the orientation you want them in, where the taxi lanes go? Do you have a development concept yet for the site?
We are in the midst of a master plan update. So Garver Engineering just a couple weeks ago got us kind of the master plan future feasibility chapter that looked at development, and so they have looked at this area and have proposed some taxi lanes and box hangar construction layouts.
So do you want your box hangars to be 60 by 60, 80 by 80? Do you have a size that you've defined yet?
I don't believe they got into that level of detail just quite yet. They're going to be putting forth some cost estimates for this area for us.
Okay. Does the city want to own the hangars, or are you looking for a developer to come in, someone to come in, lease and build the hangars?
I think the latter. We're looking for development to come in and build out these hangars. And another question that has just recently come up, and FAA just kind of issued some guidance letters as well on infrastructure that would serve these hangars and their eligibility for federal funds.
Mm-hmm. And I bet they're saying they don't want to fund those improvements, those taxi lanes, because they relate it to more of a commercial development and not the public use. And it's a struggle I think you're up against. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So here's my thoughts, and let's maybe talk about this a little bit. You had a specific question: is an RFP needed? I first think you're at the beginning of developing not only the site on an ALP, but I think then beyond the ALP, Garver can help you with this, or anybody else. But you almost need a single piece, a marketing piece that shows the lot more like a real estate development site. So you got to kind of think less about airport stuff and think more real estate development type of point of view on this. So that's what you would hand to a developer or somebody as a third-party developer. And that would be the lots where the utilities go, of course, taxi lanes, and what the leasehold boundaries would be. And of course, what they're responsible for. And that's where you start getting into the darn math and stuff. Does this work? Because it's eventually going to have to turn out to an investment in the site, and then can they return that get that return on that investment over the term of the land lease? And so, what are your thoughts about where you're at with that part of the project?
I think that's really helpful, Tim, to think about it in terms of a marketing strategy for this area of the airport. And, we can certainly, Garver certainly has the capabilities to develop more of a marketing piece for us. That's a great idea. Thank you. Yeah,
that's, my experience is show an ALP to a developer or an investor, something, and they can, well, geez, I don't understand that. But if you're marketing a housing subdivision, you're going to be showing lots, boundaries, and you're going to have a summary of items that are this is the deal. And this is this is our lease rate. This is what you're responsible for. You're going to have to understand that they're going to be responsible for all the taxes, property tax probably, because it's not going to be owned by the city. It's going to be owned by the individual. The land lease will probably be, I think, Board of Tax Appeals will probably still allow the land lease to be exempt since it's owned by the land is owned by the city. But you get that into that pitch document, that concept document. But here's the deal. I've been a believer that the airport operator, city, airport authority says, here's our deal. And yeah, there's negotiation, but you own the real estate. You have the responsibility for bringing this project online. And of course, they're going to ask about incentives, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But I just think that you've got to, I think I can picture the site, and you've got a beautiful location. So don't sell it short. Don't mind if they come and tell you, oh, well, and of course the FAA won't let us offer that for $1 a year. So there's a fair market value that is significant. And then and we're going to maybe talk a little bit more with the Goodland example on the lease structure and guarantees and items there, if we can hold off on some of that. And because Goodland has a similar question, they've been trying to get one off the ground, literally up in the air.
Yeah, and can I just say too that I really appreciate Lawrence's question, because in cities we often think about, especially when you have two private businesses indicating interest in one thing, right? So we often say, well, we have to write an RFP, and then as city staff, we're like, how do we write the RFP, and how do we make it detailed enough and informed enough? And I love what you're saying there, Tim, is you're helping the city folks understand you don't have to sit down and write out all the details, but do the math and figure out what works, and do the marketing piece or real estate, put a price on things, put it out there. If you already know a couple businesses that are interested, then obviously you want to give them that information on the same day at the same time, so it's equal, but it's fair, we'll say. But then it's still up to them. It's sort of a first come, first serve mentality, perhaps. And having said that too, I want to recognize David from El Dorado. His question in the chat is, do we understand that federal funds can be used for development cost? And I'll let Tim field it, but I heard you say that most of the federal funds available for airports are for the public purpose of the airstrip, the airfield, not for commercial businesses. So it can't be development cost just to get that business online. Is that kind of where you were headed, Tim?
Yeah, I think Scott is very in touch with the FAA Airports Division in Kansas City. That, I mean, the use of airport improvement program grant funds has, over the years, they've just restricted for focus them on into, and I think this is the case that the most recent hangar construction at the Salina Regional Airport, all the apron area and taxi lane area around the newest hangars built at Salina are all part of the project cost. The existing taxi lane that would be public use, that was all to other hangars in that area. Yeah, that's, would have an eligibility, low priority. But I think when you get into that's why, Scott, my recommendation is really define your development area, your lots and what goes in there. And that's part of your discussions, negotiations with FAA. Okay, with the state planner in the office over there, what's eligible, ineligible.
Super helpful. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, and Tim, we're 2/3 of the way done with our program now, so we'll probably have to go through the next example a little quicker.
Darn, I could spend the rest of the day doing this stuff. This is a pleasure visiting with you all today. And so the next Goodland Municipal Airport, new hangar construction. My understanding is the hangar construction got started with a concrete pad, but there's been a couple missteps as far as getting the building up. And am I understanding the question?
Yes, correct. It just didn't have follow through, and then it's ended up with a different owner, or that person was left, didn't complete what was promised, and then for each subsequent leaseholder, there hasn't been follow through.
Okay. One thing I'm going to step back, and Scott too, and this is probably, I held off on this comment, but the land lease itself and the terms of that land lease, that you're offering, how you build in your guarantees and how you build in performance requirements. That would be my Kent for you question, additional question. Did you have specific performance requirements in that lease agreement and in land lease with these tenants?
It was mainly time determined.
Okay. Any penalties? Any penalties involved with
yes,
that?
there was a penalty. I don't have it off the top of my head,
Right.
but it's not a financial penalty other than you don't get to continue the lease.
Yeah. I'm a believer in financial penalties. I mean, if you go to, again, if we sometimes need to take our airport manager hats off, or city managers hats off, and county administrator hats off, and think about the real estate developers that come into us and the real estate folks that come into our offices to talk about projects. And the developers that I've known, when I see their projects, and whether it's an office or whether it's a new building site, there are financial penalties involved. There's
Yes.
deposits that are required, sizable amount, so that you build into that lease agreement. And I don't think you have to be at all timid or bashful about requiring for your public property the same type of requirements that a private developer would have on the property that he or she is developing. Sometimes that's pretty significant. That way you eliminate, it's an eliminator, that person, oh geez, if I can't get it done, that's going to cost me 10 grand. Well, yeah, because Kent, you and the city of Goodland have already spent quite a bit of time on each one of these projects. So that's part of that penalty, that compensation for time and energy loss. And I found the ones that are really will perform, they say, okay, I can beat that. They may say I need 24 months instead of 18 months, but you don't back off on your penalty.
Understood.
Something to think about. Don't be timid. Don't hold back saying, we want this, we want you at our airport, and we're not trying to be, but we want to be good. We want you to be as good a partner for us as we want to be for you. Is that helpful?
Yes, sir.
What's your next? You have somebody else ready to go? Another tenant, lessee?
I don't think in the queue at this point.
Okay, so you have time now to look at everything, sit back, reassess. And you can say, okay, locally, okay, city attorney, sit down, sit down and as a group, there's senior staff. Okay, how can we strengthen this and then get this out? And I think, again, talking to Scott, then you put together, you can do it in-house. It doesn't take a nice, good marketing piece. It really gives you something that developer, that potential lessee tenant, and then you really push the attributes of the Goodland Municipal Airport, what you have to offer. You have a lot to offer, and don't be timid. Just be, and then they're going to really want to finalize an agreement with you, I think.
Sure.
Got a few.
What
Kent, anything else?
is it? I guess a follow-up question or come back to me because I've had queries regarding the pad and it's not the right fit now for the
Yeah.
subsequent owners. Is it worth tearing up tearing that up, or is it rather stay in place?
Well, it's probably set for a specific size hangar, 40 by 40, 60 by 60 by 60. It has a value. If it's new concrete, new pad, if it's relatively new, is it 18 months, 24 months?
Yeah, I'd say about that.
So it has value. So I wouldn't, somebody comes in and they look at it, well, it's not the right size. Good, if you feel the quality is good, you can expand the size of the pad to fit
Right.
an expansion of the hangar. And I wouldn't, I'd hold on to it for a while. And
Okay.
yeah, it means that next lessee, next tenant has okay, you got something to offer them. It's that they can literally build off of and work with.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question, Kent. And Scott, thank you for your question. Wichita Eisenhower National, and I think of all the airports across the state of Kansas, has one of the greatest impacts all across the state as far as economic development and the well-being for all of our communities in the state. But some challenges, as all airports have. This industry, air service, airline industry, I've learned that, what we know today is what we know today in the airline industry. It can change tomorrow, it can change in 2 weeks, but it will change. There are a lot going on in this industry. Pilot shortages, really constrain the industry, but we're over that. But now we're fighting failures of the air traffic control system. And Senator Moran is at the forefront of that. And I agree with what he's proposed. And he is not. This is one of his highest priorities. Those outages at airports like Newark, or whether it's Chicago or Salt Lake City, it affects the whole system. It's a system of dominoes that and if there's a gap or one domino falls, it will ground holds, schedules get just really devastated, and that's in addition to severe weather that we've had, to whether it's snowstorms, whether it's these severe thunderstorms and ground stops. So it's a complex system. Every jet that's departing from any airport today, American, Delta, United, for example, that jet is scheduled to fly about 7 to 8 hours a day to make revenue. And once you take that out of the system for an hour, 2 hours, well, it's not making revenue. And also the rest of the system is off. The scheduling is off. That's why you see many times a day for recovery flights. You see that on a schedule. Well, they're trying to make up and trying to recover and get airplanes back in sync. So then there's coming in and out of the markets. Recently, Frontier left the Wichita market, and that left a big gap in the Wichita market. That Frontier effect on the Wichita market is about 78 seats per day each way. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it does add up. And not the other carriers, the major carriers there that are really the major carriers, American, Delta, United, and Southwest don't make those seats up right away. And it's those types of, that's what's been going on, and it's been going on with airports all across the nation, all the commercial service airports. So that's the setting. Hopefully I understand the question, and I'll probably hold there, then get to some of the questions as far as the common mistakes in leveraging the strategies and building trust. And see, can't remember who submitted the question from Wichita. Maybe who would like to see the most important question right now.
Yeah, Teresa, are you still on the
Yes.
call?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Hi, Tim. I'm Teresa Veazey. I'm with the city of Wichita.
Yes,
And so
Teresa.
I see a couple of other colleagues from the city, Naomi Shapiro and Betty Schrader, on this call as well. I submitted those questions mostly because Eisenhower was looking, well, we have a great director of airports, Jesse Romo, and I've heard him
Yes.
speak a couple of times. He was looking for a customer experience and business development manager several months ago. And then when this came across my inbox, and I love 101, I thought this would be something that I should participate in and watch. So my background is in marketing and communications. So
Mhm.
I'm probably maybe selfishly most interested in the last question because when airports promote, hey, this new flight is coming and this is great, and then that changes, there's a trick there in messaging. You don't want to sound the alarm, but you also
Right.
don't want to you want to make sure that you're continuing to promote and market the flights that the airport does offer. So I'm interested in how do you have that balance when it comes to marketing and communications.
Yeah. And don't feel alone. Every airport is having flights enter, and there's more fluidity on these schedules than there ever has been. So Jesse has a great handle on this, and this is I think you're looking for ways you can best support Jesse and the Eisenhower team, and I appreciate that. So I gave some thought here. I think the messaging is important. And first, I'll start with my experience has been with the market and the passengers to continue to reinforce the reliability factor. I think that was part of your question too. The business community and people rely on their service. Look at the numbers for Eisenhower, and then but you got to look at American, at Delta, United, and Southwest. Those are the carrying the main Alaska's there, and Allegiant. The numbers are good. In fact, they're really good factors. So there is a measure, and this is all can be derived from the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. It's the on-time factor. If you've ever heard of that, it's on time within 14 minutes of scheduled arrival. And it's controllable completion factor. So my earlier comment was, there's a case that, thunderstorms and weather and things really, those are things airlines can't control. But the factors they can control, like scheduled maintenance and crew availability, is measured. And these numbers can be, if you look into those numbers, that can give you something then offer to the market, saying, and your passengers and your stakeholders, this is really reliable service. Yeah, there's points in time where there are cancellations, and that gets the news, but on time within 14 minutes and controllable completion factor, I think you'll find those numbers something you'll want to trumpet and really celebrate. I think too, continuing to monitor your market perception from your stakeholders, your market. Many of the folks on this call, you can always reach out to a group like this and what's the perception of Eisenhower, the air service. But I think your passengers, I think through Kathy and WSU, you've got the means to go out and do those continuous studies and surveys. But I think keeping that market perception in mind, and yeah, you have the individuals that call that have the problem. I think you're going to find 98+% of the folks that use Eisenhower are pleased. They're getting to where they need to be. They feel safe. They like, the services provided at Eisenhower. You're getting into great markets, and your fares are good. Your fares are good, and I think if you kind of look at it from those two vantage points, that may give you a couple of different viewpoints or items to really promote and to share.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that.
Tim, we're at the 5-minute mark, and I know you just have 2 slides left, so I'm confident you can get through those in the 5 minutes. How do you feel?
Well, I think so. I do have one comment for Wichita, and this gets to retaining this service and building upon service. And Teresa, I can take this on another call or follow up later on. But I think there's an opportunity. I do know there's an opportunity. I'll more than think that you see this picture of this MRO work here. Those are regional jets, actually here at Salina, SkyWest Airlines. SkyWest, Republic, for example, that do flying for American, Delta, and United capacity flying, they're always looking for new places for overnight maintenance. I'd really put on a high priority to seek out Republic and SkyWest, Piedmont, the American airline subsidiary, and at
Are you
Eisenhower.
ready? Everyone's standing out here because your door's.
and at
Did you do
Eisenhower
that?
Just in the webinar.
offer the
You
fact that
webinar
you
till
are
left,
interested in
so-
Oh, okay.
you're
So you want us to
interested in
wait?
work,
Yeah,
Okay, come get us.
you're interested in working with them on a presence at Eisenhower for overnight maintenance. That means your Delta flights, United flights, American flights, if like it's SkyWest, are there overnight for maintenance, and they become a priority to go out the next morning. Available resources: Kansas Department of Commerce, KDOT, Kansas Association of Airports. Scott would made me put that in. The Kansas Economic Development Alliance, Kansas Government's Military Council, and one I'll amplify on. We'll amplify at in June. Dreiling Aviation Services, Lindsay Dreiling, the owner. She does strategic planning, aviation specific for airports and advanced air mobility and the emerging technologies coming in. So on June 12th, we want to be prepared to talk to you more about aerospace business recruitment, DoD contractor opportunities, including your airport, local airport, and more in the community regional economic strategic plan, and elaborate more on advanced air mobility and e-aviation opportunities for your community, your airport.
Tim, you covered a lot, and we thank you very much for it. And I appreciate you giving us a preview of what you're going to cover on June 12th. Some of you all are already registered to attend the one-day City County Management Summit on June 12th at Wichita State University. Tim's session, in-person session, will be at 9:45 to 10:30. Some of you are not registered for that event and may or may not be able to go. After this is over today, you can expect in your inbox an email from me telling you more about that event to see if you might want to go, but also some of you do have colleagues from your city who are already signed up to go. So maybe you could arm wrestle them a little bit and get them to go to Tim's session and share that information with you. Tim, I appreciate these topics you'll talk about on the 12th as the second phase of this 101, 102 deal.